Hey, everybody out there on YouTube. Once again, it's the three middle-aged dudes just bullshitting about nothing. We're continuing our Geek Week in Review with some video game news. We've got some news about Nintendo. Very, very exciting things. Well, some exciting things, some things not so exciting. First thing about Nintendo that broke earlier this week is the fact that Nintendo has made it official. They are going back to their original brand logo. If you aren't a child of the 80s, like ourselves, you may not know the significance of seeing the red oval with Nintendo's name in it, but that just brings back really, really fond memories for us. You know, I don't know the whole thing behind it, but apparently I guess Nintendo is trying to push another, I think, an interactive thing or something like that, and they brought it back. What are you guys' thoughts?
Out with the new and in with the old, I guess. I want to make sure
the old as far as what? In with the old as far as what? Just the logo? Or
just
the
logo. They just rebranded the logo with the red oval with Nintendo written in the middle of it.
Yeah.
The problem is there's not enough about the NX yet. No. As far as how we can judge it. Especially when it has to do with games, because that's the all-important part.
You know, with that, Nintendo is the only gaming company. Everybody else does other things. And I think that Nintendo will continue to be a gaming-only system. Or let me put it this way. I would hope that Nintendo would stay with that. Because Sony, Microsoft, they modernized it. They added a DVD player and, all this other peripherals and all that other stuff. But Nintendo has mainly been a gaming company. It was built although Nintendo's been a card company way back in 1800s. But, we know Nintendo since 1985. They've been a gaming company ever since. And I don't see them changing that anytime soon. But, with so much unknown on the horizon with the NX, we can look at the rebranding as a good thing. Maybe they're trying to go back to their roots, trying to capture that magic that they had back in, 1985. Who knows?
Basically, they've... The Nintendo logo, the classic Nintendo logo, has pretty much been the red oval with red lettering of Nintendo inside of the oval on a black or gray background.
Yep.
Pretty much the rebranding that they've done is kind of that, except inverted. It's a white oval with white Nintendo letters on a red background. It brings back the classic look and everything else without being the old look. It's a simple change, and I think what they've done really was that they were rebranding themselves. I can't remember whether or not it was like for a new room or a new like interactive show or something that they were doing like that. So,
well, maybe they're trying to use that to bring in the older folks. I think that's what their demographic is trying. Our age group, the 34 to 45-year-olds who grew up with the Nintendo. Maybe that's what they're trying to do. Because Nintendo has been known as a kid's system. It's not very powerful in comparison to the other 8th generation systems, and it's the least powerful. And I don't know. Maybe they're trying to throw in some nostalgia to bring back our demographic back into them. And, but I have to say, it all comes with games. There's got to be games. There's got to be third-party support, or this won't work. So, again, we don't know what Nintendo's doing. But, change is good.
Any thoughts, Liam?
I'm trying here. Okay, Nintendo, going back to their roots. It wasn't Nintendo that shifted in the first place.
Yeah.
it was the times and third party. Nintendo basically needs to understand that they just can't focus on one demographic. They focused with the young and then they focused with the old. They need to come somewhere in between.
Yep.
They have to be in the middle. And it's not to say that they should lose their focus, but they should have all around gaming.
Yeah.
But the problem with that now is that there are a lot of people that just don't trust Nintendo like they used to. They even when you hear the word Nintendo, oh no, kid shit. That's what people jump to conclusion with that.
It is synonymous with a kid system. I mean, just like when we were in the video game store, when you mentioned Nintendo, what was the first thing out of their mouths? Oh, that system? And
here's the thing. Here's a funny thing. All right. Everybody sits there and says, oh, yeah, I used to play with my Nintendo as a kid. Because guess what? They were the first fucking ones there, aside from Atari. All right? Like the theme has said many times, whether or not you say it, you owe your gaming life to Nintendo.
Yeah.
Because Atari, even though they set the industry up and they created basically the market for the entertainment genre and everything, they're also the ones who fucking tanked it. Okay? You got to remember that it was not the only fucking title in that fucking landfill in Alamogordo, New Mexico. All right? They had thousands, tens upon thousands of Atari cartridges in that fucking landfill.
well, with that, I mean, and that's the reason why Nintendo, even today, they're so big on piracy, protecting their. I mean, I understand, I do, and since Nintendo brought the gaming industry out of the ashes of what is left of Atari, and that was because of oversaturation. Anybody can make a game. There was no protection, And Nintendo said, no, you're going to have the certain chip that would work, and they've been doing that ever since. With the GameCube, with those little freaking discs. I mean, even to today.
Well, I mean, here's the truth about Nintendo. All right, is that there's a reason why they don't have third-party support. Okay, what was going on with Nintendo was that not only did they reestablish the industry, but they're also the ones who set up all of the industry standards, first-party requirements, and other things. As a cartridge maker, what happened was that when all of the third-party licensees would come out and they would publish a game, they would have to go to Nintendo for the boards and for the chips. All right. Yeah. The caveat of that was that even if that particular game didn't sell well, Nintendo still made their money because they were the only people you could get the actual cards and boards from. All right, unless you were doing something unlicensed. Okay, fast forward to the 16-bit era with the SNES and Genesis. All right. Still the same deal. If you're licensed to go ahead and make games with Nintendo, okay, you had to go to them for the board and for the chips in order to go ahead and be able to create your game. The thing that pissed off third-party developers, for third-party publishers, is that those chips and those boards, they were fucking expensive, all right? And because of that, when they had to release their games, on average, their games were usually $10 more than Nintendo's first-party fucking titles, all right? Yeah. So what would happen was that all of Nintendo's first-party titles would be $49.99, and then their third-party publishers, all of their titles would be $59.99. Yep. How well do you think their titles would sell in comparison? All right.
Well, to add to what you're saying is also one company can only have a certain amount of chips per year. You can only release certain games per year. So if you want to make a kick-ass game, but you ran out of your chips for that year, like say 3, I'm just throwing out a number, then you're done. You have to wait to the next year or the next fiscal year in order to produce that game that you wanted. And that would piss me off too. That was okay with first party because Nintendo controlled that. Yeah. But third party, you want to, as a third party publisher, you want to push out as many games as you can on the system because that's the way you make money.
Yeah. All right.
I would be pissed off as a third party.
Yeah, and the thing was is that again, all the third party publishers knew that. Guess what? Since they were buying the chips and the boards from Nintendo, even if their games sold like shit, Nintendo made money. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward to the 32-bit era.
Yep.
The more bigger players come along, and Nintendo was like, "We're going to skip 32-bit. We're going to jump to 64," and they're still fucking insisting on cartridges. All right.
That turned a lot of people off.
Yeah.
I mean,
The thought of cartridge alone.
but the thing
It was
is,
like, oh no, cartridge is the way of the past. CD is the way of the future.
Well, the funny thing is, those cartridges are fucking coming back because the chips have gotten smaller, and basically the cards for like 3DS games and Vita games, and even the stuff that they use for cell phones, they're all pretty much SD cards.
yeah.
So that is coming back. Okay.
Well, you mentioned 64. I mean, there were some great games on the 64. You know, you got the Zelda series
By Nintendo.
64, huh?
Yeah, by Nintendo.
By Nintendo again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we're third party guys.
But
Oh,
what about,
if you're a wrestling fan, you did pretty good.
but
Yeah.
what about 007, man?
That was first party.
Rare.
That was done by Rare when
That
Rare
was done by Rare, and they were hooked up
for
with
Nintendo.
Yeah.
You know.
But I mean, so you know, we've already seen the specs of the NX. You know, or we've seen something of it. It says there's no disk drive. So maybe, like before, like I mentioned in my previous videos, that maybe the NX is going to run on SD cards. You know, I mean, that's very. I mean, like you said,
It's possible. It's possible.
2016, and you get a 3DS game that has amazing graphics for a portable. You know, I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't. I mean, that's the best way that Nintendo can control their properties. But would third party go with
it? It depends on whether or not the gap for manufacturing, as far as whatever cards they're using, isn't as huge as it used to be for cartridges over DVDs or CDs like it was before. All right. The reason why a lot of third-party publishers jumped onto Sony was because for every CD they went ahead and they pressed and everything, they only had to invest like 15 cents. All right. For every fucking cartridge they had to sit there and get a hold of from Nintendo, they had to invest $10. All right. There's a huge fucking difference.
yes?
In the overhead costs. All right. I mean, I love Nintendo, but they are not saints, and they have made mistakes in the past. All right, and that kind of brings us to the next bit of news about Nintendo. You know, one of the things that Nintendo has a really horrible habit of doing is that when they come around to the transition period from one generation console to the next, is that they have a very, very nasty habit of taking games that are already announced and in development for a current console and then saying, nope, we're porting it over to the next one, and we're not releasing it until the next fucking console was out.
Zelda, hello?
Yeah. All right. Which
Zelda, looking at you. Yes.
brings us to the next piece of news that broke. There was a blogger, Emily Rogers, who leaked out information on the NX. All right, and it wasn't like specs or anything like that. But basically, it was this. She had her account open and she said something to the nature of, "I don't know much about the NX's hardware, but I do know that there are a lot of games in development. And there's a lot of Wii U ports coming. I know of 4 of them at least." Right after she posted that up, her account went private, and her shit disappeared. Okay, which begs the question. You know, if she's somebody who actually knows something, that means she broke NDA. She's fucked. All right, that's a bad place to be in.
Right.
But
that makes sense, though. I mean, because look at the Zelda Wii U. How many times has that been pushed back?
Yeah.
But what the Reverend is
that's one of
saying,
them.
what the Reverend is saying is like, for one, she shouldn't have broke that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, you don't break that.
But
That's absolutely not. I mean, what'd you get for doing that? You got fired.
here's the thing, though. All right, if we're going along, I hate to play with rumors, especially when it comes to the NX, because I'd rather see specs and stuff like that. Excuse me. But if we're going along what we've heard and the type of news that has been released so far, there are a few things that this means. There's a few things that there are ramifications that follow along the news that there's going to be this huge glut of Wii U ports for the NX. The first one being that bad habit of holding already announced and developed titles as tie-over instant cash grabs for the next fucking console. I've said it many times. I hate that, and I hate it from personal experience too.
I mean, Zelda. I knew Zelda when they kept pushing it back, and then after the NX was announced, I knew that's what that. I knew at least of one.
Yeah.
So I don't know why Nintendo is doing this. I mean, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
You need to worry about launch titles, not port titles.
No, they're using the ports as launch titles. That's
yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. I'm talking about true launch titles, like a new Metroid. Real launch titles. I'm not saying.
Well, here's the issue with that too. When Nintendo usually comes out, they usually have like one, maybe two of their first party titles launched with the system.
Yeah.
They don't usually have a whole bunch of first party titles coming out with the system at the same time. They like to ration those out.
Yeah, and it makes sense too, because the one thing that they don't want to do is that they don't want to sit there and have to worry about making if there are any third-party publishers and developers who have launched titles with them, they don't want to make it look like they're pushing them out of that spot of being able to be one of those games packaged in with this brand new fucking console. There's a reason why they do that, but they've always had a smattering of like a couple of them to go ahead and accompany their launch of a new console. Now, the other thing that it kind of brings up is that, look, if we're following along the rumors that the NX is not going to have an optical drive and that they're making a huge amount of Wii U ports for the NX, I think that kind of speaks badly about the chance of the NX having backwards compatibility, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
This might be
the no optical drive kind of gave that away.
Yeah, this will be the first Nintendo home console without backwards compatibility since the Nintendo 64. I mean, that's crazy if you think about it, Or excuse me, since the GameCube. All right, the GameCube was, but the thing is that the GameCube really did have a form of backwards compatibility to previous things. If you're using the Game Boy Advance thing, you play all the Game Boy games. So it still had, if not backwards compatibility, expanded compatibility. So
see, I'm not a fan of the backwards compatibility thing. I think these companies that do it, especially Microsoft, I mean, it's good, but I'm not a fan of it simply because I think they're just cushioning their library. So that's telling me that you don't have enough games going forward, that you have to rely on your games of the past to support you.
Well, it's either that or remakes, remastered games.
Yeah, we definitely live in the remaster world. It's just I mean, and I was really thankful that PlayStation 4 decided, like, no, there's no backwards compatibility. Sorry, we can't do it. And I'm glad that they stick to their guns with that. I mean, I was impressed. But, I mean, Nintendo...
Well, the system would have been like this. The system would have been like $800 if they would have done that.
And Nintendo, you know, I mean, it doesn't hurt me any that it's not backwards compatible with the Wii U. I mean, if they're going to make ports, you know,
why would but
and
my
have
point is, why would at this day and age, okay, the Wii U wasn't a successful console.
no, it
Why
wasn't
make it backwards compatible with that?
exactly.
My whole thing is I like having a fucking choice. All right, and
Well, that's true.
the cool thing,
Absolutely, 100%. I agree. Choice is good. I've always said that forever.
Yeah.
Choice. I love having a choice.
my whole thing is that look, when I'm sitting there, I'm looking at my entertainment center, and I have to sit there and do the whole what's that game console Jenga. Find
We've all
which one
been
I gotta
there.
pull out.
We've all
Alright.
been there.
Look, when I have consoles that are actually backwards compatible, and I have to sit there and like I said, play for space and shit like that, find out which one is going to lose its spot on the entertainment center. The ones that are backwards compatible are going to help me because I'm like, hey, look, this one's backwards compatible, and these one or two other consoles that are sitting there, I can move them out of the slot without having to sit there and relocate my fucking games to where that console is going to end up. You know?
And are you really going to play that one console that much to move it? And that's the problem.
Yeah, you know, that's the thing. You know, I mean, if in my perfect imaginary world, I would have, you know, I don't know, a 200 square foot fucking living room with a huge projector screen, and then just library shelves filled with my shit. All right, you know, multiple fucking selectors and everything. This huge custom thing for where everything will have its fucking slot. But I don't. All right, and most people don't either. They've got to sit there and fight for shelf space. In which case, backwards compatibility is a blessing. All right.
See, as long as backwards compatibility is done right,
Yeah,
100% right.
it actually works, you know. And the cool thing about the backwards compatibility as far as the Nintendo consoles go is that it's always been on a hardware level. It's never been fucking emulation.
Mhm.
All right.
True.
So I can sit there, GameCube backwards compatibility for the Wii. I could pull any fucking GameCube game, throw that bitch in there, and it's
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Wii U to the Wii. I can take any of the Wii games to the Wii U. I can throw that bitch in there.
Well, maybe the NX is going to be compatible with 3DS games.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that the 3DSs are actually controllers for the NX.
No, it might. The funny thing is that was, I think that was one of the things that they were hoping would happen with the Wii U, as far as using the 3DS as a controller. They're really similar to what they did with the GameCube and the Game Boy Advance with the link cables.
Yeah.
This time you wouldn't have to worry about the wire.
But the thing is, though, we live in a world where we have wireless controllers now.
Yeah,
So-
that's the reason why the 3DS would fucking work with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm saying. So it's available. It's just that you just got to do it.
No.
But with me, with the NX, we like you said before, Reverend, you know, and I think the theme mentioned this, we know so little about the NX. And all this is rumors and guesswork.
Yeah.
You know, of course, that woman who tweeted that stuff, you know, she messed up her NDA and that's it. She's gone.
Yeah.
You know, and she deserves to be gone. And it's just
couldn't wait a couple of months. E3 is in a couple of months.
that's what I'm saying. You don't do that. I mean, I hope it was worth it for her. You know, I doubt it. Having a steady job is. But anyway, we know so little about the NX right now, and E3, like you said, thing is like what 3 months away.
Yep.
So I'm sure as soon, you know, as the months get closer, Nintendo's notorious for doing those Nintendo Directs, you know, as we get closer and closer to E3. So, you know, stand by, I guess. You know,
Let's see what's going on. Now, I mean, there unfortunately there's too many unanswered questions for the NX. I'd love to see something concrete. I think all of us would love to see something concrete. I mean, any final thoughts? Anything else that we need to interject on this subject?
Nope.
Like I said, there's so many unknowns. There's too many variables in this equation right now. There's no way we could solve it. So we just got to wait. We got to play that waiting game. And next couple months, we'll definitely find something out about the NX. And you'll hear it first. Channels, all 3 of these channels, all 4 of these channels, you'll hear it.
You know, as long as at E3 they give us something. They don't just bury us with, oh, okay, yeah, you still know that it's coming, but we have nothing for you.
I don't think Nintendo would do that.
What?
Because they went out on record saying that they will let us know more information at E3. They said if they go against their word, but they did say it. They said that we'll let you know. We're not ready to speak about it, but we'll let you know as E3 approaches. So.
Yeah, as E3 approaches, but will that? Okay, the problem is games. Like you guys were saying, okay, you're gonna have a lot of GameCube. You're gonna have a lot of Wii U games going on the freaking NX. That's gonna just basically be piggyback off it. So, are you gonna see a Super Luigi or Super Mario Wii U on the NX? Why the fuck would that make sense? Make a fucking another Luigi game and put it on there. Make some new shit. Make another fucking Metroid. Make another, make another Donkey Kong Country, if you please.
This is my prediction. There's going to be a Star Fox on the NX. That's probably going to be it's going to be the Star Fox. Definitely the Zelda Wii U. I bet you those are 2 of the games that's going to be ported over. I mean,
I mean, it's obviously got to be something that's
I don't know.
But again, it's speculation. Hopefully, we'll be able to find things out. And when that time has come, even if it's a week later than the announcement has been made, you'll hear about it from us, folks. Thank you for spending the last 25 minutes with us. We are the 3 middle-aged dudes just bullshitting about nothing. This is our take on the Nintendo news this week. Even though it's just pretty much a logo change, a return to an old logo, and a lot more rumors.
Yep, a lot more speculation.
Yep. I wish we could have more, but it'll happen. And when we do, it'll be on our channels. Yes. Check out my channel, check out the Themes channel, check out Gray Mouse's channel. If you're so kind, hit the like button, hit subscribe. Leave comments below. If there's something else that we may have missed, something you want to add to the conversation, we definitely welcome it.
Exactly.
With that, I am the Reverend.
The Theme here.
And this is Gray Mouse 1.
Once again, for the benefits of common sense, logic, and gaming. Credits.